Silence it.
All right, looks like we're live. Happy Monday, guys. Normally, this is a firearms channel, and I do a Friday stream. But as you guys know, I'm very passionate about our country, our Constitution, and our rights. So tonight, I have a friend of mine. She's totally awesome, and I'm excited to do this right now. So I'd like to introduce you to Katherine Henry. She's a constitutional attorney, and she's a pretty cool guest to have on because she actually argued in front of the Michigan Supreme Court in the recent case that Gretchen Whitmer's orders. So how's it going, Katherine?
Good, but your audio actually was cutting out just a little on that last little sentence or two you had.
I think maybe you need to put on headphones because I'm getting it feeding back through my microphone. Or
Mike, are they right there?
I'm getting a loop back.
Okay, give me a second. Mike, can you turn off Bluetooth on that, please? Okay, Mike, I don't think I'm connected to this yet. How did we connect me before?
We're just getting the little technical things going, guys. 1 second here.
Okay, good. I'm connected. Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
I think we're good. They say they can hear us both, so.
Okay.
Yes, I can. For some reason, I'm getting a delay back through. All right. Can you hear me, Katherine?
Yes, I can. It's a slight bit echoey, but I'm fine with it if that's what we need.
Okay, cool. So as I introduced you, you were one of the attorneys that actually spoke in front of the Supreme Court. You gave a brief and you also argued. So tell us a little bit about that case and the votes that happened afterwards.
Excuse me. Yes. So the case that the Supreme Court, the case that the Supreme Court was hearing in September was not the legislature's lawsuit like a lot of people were thinking it was. I've actually participated as an amicus attorney in that case as well, filing briefs and everything. But it was actually a case filed by 3 doctors' offices and 1 patient who sued the governor, the attorney general, and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services director. They actually sued in federal district court, not state court. But the federal district court judge decided that if the plaintiffs could win on state law or state constitutional issues, then he didn't want to have to decide the case on federal constitutional issues. So he turned to the state Supreme Court to ask 2 questions. One, is the governor violating state law by issuing these executive orders after April 30th? And number 2, does the Emergency Powers of Governor Act of 1945 violate the state constitution's separation of powers clause? So what happened is they had a very expedited briefing schedule, meaning there's normally a lot of days in between when a court first accepts a case or opens a file, and then the attorneys have to then get all their briefs in. The court sped up that time frame and originally scheduled the oral argument to happen, September 2nd. And then there was something that happened with Justice Bernstein's assistant. So they were not able to, I'm really confused. What's going on with why is it saying $20 on the screen? Can you tell me what's going on? It's kind of distracting me. Did you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's coming in like 30 seconds late and repeating it. That was a super chat that someone had posted.
Okay. I'm just confused why it's saying $5 or $20. Anyway. So, so they moved it to September 9th. And then I was one of, I believe, 6 attorneys total that got to argue in front of the Supreme Court on these issues. I was the only one that argued that although the governor's orders were legal in the first 51 days, ending April 30th, that they were unconstitutional from day one. But besides the point, the court then issued an order later that afternoon, so very quick, and because we were online with them from 9 o'clock through Zoom, 9 a.m. through almost 1:30 p.m. And before 5 o'clock that same day, they had already issued the order asking us attorneys or directing us attorneys to answer 2 additional questions that were going to help them sort out the issue. So that was due September 16th, so only 1 week later, which might sound like a long time in the grand scheme of, like a college report or a work, project or something, but absolutely not when you're printing off thousands of pages of statutes and cases and other things. So at any rate, we all had those turned in by Wednesday the 16th. And then the court issued its decision on Friday, which I believe was the 2nd of October. So that's only 2.5 weeks later. So at any rate, and in that decision, the court ended up finding 7 out of 7, that means Democrats and Republicans alike, voted to essentially declare that the governor had in fact been violating the Emergency Management Act of 1976. And what's interesting is many people don't know that the Attorney General actually had their own separate, she had her own separate attorney representing her in that action, different from the governor. And the Attorney General's counsel argued that the governor was in fact violating the Emergency Management Act of 1976. So that was very interesting because all along, like what you see in the media, the Attorney General was basically, high-fiving the governor on all these executive orders. So anyway, the second question as to whether the Emergency Power of Governor Act of 1945 violated the separation of power clause of our state constitution, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled 4-3 that yes, it did in fact violate the separation of powers clause. So it was, in fact, let me read the EPGA was unconstitutional in its entirety. That's from the Michigan Supreme Court. So there's no 2 ways about that. So anyway, those are 2 great things that came out of that decision. Unfortunately, there's a lot of fallout from that, but did that answer your first question anyway?
Yeah, and here's kind of how I'm looking at it. Tell me if I'm right. So there were 2 different votes. The first one that was unanimous said she did not have any powers past April 30th. And then the second one that was 4-3, it sounds like they said, none of this really matters because these laws were unconstitutional from the day they were written. So they've been unconstitutional this whole time. Is that right?
The first 7-0 decision was just on the 1976 law.
Okay.
And basically that was applying to Governor Whitmer's use of this law. So they did not address, in a majority decision, they did not address whether she was violating the 1945 law or really anything of that nature.
Okay.
And so the second part focused on the 1945 law, and it wasn't focused on her use of that law. The decision was saying that law from its very inception was unconstitutional. So no governor can ever use it. So the first one stops Whitmer from using it, the 1976 law for COVID. The second part of the question stops every single governor from now on from using the 1945 law for any reason.
Okay, so if it's going to stop them for using it for any reason, I know you support other people's petitions. Yours, in my opinion, is the best because it just fixes all of this crap. But with that said, do we still need to repeal 45 if it's
Nope.
unconstitutional?
Nope. There's no point in repealing the 1945 Act when it's unconstitutional. I mean, let me put it this way. The legislature should repeal every single statute that's been found to be unconstitutional. They should be doing that. But if you look in the statutes, even just on having a petition, there's laws about getting a petition, and there's laws on the books that say they have to be done by congressional district, whereas you could see, because you help us collect signatures, we do them by county. Well, because the law used to say it's done by county. Then they changed it to say it's done by congressional district. But the Supreme Court of Michigan then found that was unconstitutional, yet the legislature hasn't cleaned up the law. They just left the unconstitutional law on the books.
Wow.
So they do that all the time. If you look at the legislature's law website, they have a ton of laws that are on the books. But if you look at a footnote, the footnote will tell you that court case found that law to be unconstitutional.
Oh, that makes sense. Geez, you're really smart. I'm glad you're here because, okay, so it seemed like to me, I know my wife tweeted out as soon as it happened, like, I'm so happy I could cry with this Supreme Court decision.
Yes.
But, so we're really happy, right? But there's a but, unfortunately. So some of the main questions I'm getting is this. Immediately after this decision kind of broke, we have counties such as Oakland County, Genesee, I think, and others, and they're saying, we're just going to step in now and use our health department mandates to just keep acting like her executive actions are still in place. Are you aware of that? And what's your thoughts?
I am, but let me ask another question that came even before that.
Okay.
Let's look at what Whitmer did herself.
Yes.
Sorry, I have a bad back, so I got to kind of reposition every now and then.
You're good.
So the governor has kind of argued almost two things. One is she's kind of argued that the emergency, basically that she can appeal. One part is that she can appeal this decision. And so while she's appealing it, that she gets this stay, that everything gets to be paused. That's why I emphasized what was actually happening in these two questions with the Supreme Court, that it was a federal court case, and the federal court recognized they were not the best place to determine whether a state law is being violated by our state officer, the governor. The highest court that can answer that question is the state Supreme Court. The second question was whether the state law violated the state constitution. And the highest court that can possibly answer that is the state Supreme Court. So there is no other court that can answer those questions. In other words, she cannot appeal to any higher court. So what that leaves then is some choices that are in Michigan Court Rule 7.311. Specifically, she's been talking about a motion for reconsideration. She's so disappointed in the court, and she thinks that they need to reconsider what they're doing, and she's scolding them, right? That court rule, if you look at 7.311G, it talks about in that motion for reconsideration that the 21-day time frame that she talks about, it's that she has 21 days to file this motion. If she doesn't file within 21 days, then the whole motion, if she files it on the 22nd day, the court rule says they will literally throw out her motion. Okay. The 21-day time frame is for her. It has nothing to do with the people. It has nothing to do with her executive orders. In fact, this is the last sentence of that part. It says the filing of a motion for reconsideration does not stay the effect of an order addressed in the motion. So what that means is the court's order is already in effect, and it was as of 4:35 p.m. on Friday. She can't do anything about that. So she's literally just lying to the people. Although I did hear I have 200 emails in my inbox as of right now, so I haven't been able to see which court filings might be there yet. But I did see, or I did hear, excuse me, that the governor did file a motion for clarification with the Michigan Supreme Court, so she can ask when do her orders go into effect, which I honestly think that she needs to be disbarred for being that loose with the truth with people in Michigan. It's absurd. But we can't even, we'd run out of pen and paper if we ever tried to write down all the ways that she was breaking laws in the state of Michigan. So anyway, so now that takes us to, let's hold off on the question about the local county orders and things like that. I'm going to get to that, but let's pretend for a second that that doesn't exist. With that being said, I have been asked, what does that mean as of today? Do we get to go out and burn our masks? The answer is, heck yeah, we do. Go out and burn your mask if you want to. If you want to wear, this is the great part about America. If you would like to go and wear a mask because you're immunocompromised, or you live in fear because you don't know Jesus Christ as your savior, then you have the choice to wear the mask. If you would like to make sure that you are not gathering in large groups because you think that would be unwise or not safe, you have the choice to stay at home. But for the rest of us that do appreciate breathing fresh air, don't like the buildup of bacteria on our faces every single day, and are actually paying attention to the mask manufacturers telling us that the N95 masks do not, in fact, stop the transmission of COVID-19, or you're medically unable to wear one, we can finally celebrate that the Supreme Court has officially thrown out every single one of her executive orders that are based on COVID-19. Because she did not have the right to declare a state of emergency after April 30th, she has no right to issue any of those other COVID-19 orders. So the order that tells us to wear masks, gone. The order that tells us we can't see our loved ones in nursing homes or juvenile care facilities, gone. The order that tells us that we are limited to half capacity or whatnot in restaurants, gone. The order that tells us that we, have to wear masks while playing sports, which is asinine, gone. All of that is gone. Literally no order from the governor related to COVID-19 is still in place, not a single one. So at any rate, that then brings us to, well, what about these local orders, right? The first one I had been brought my attention to was Oakland County, and then I have Ingham County. I heard there's one for Livingston County.
I'm getting breaking news in the chat. I don't know if you've heard this, that the whole state of Michigan, a bunch of people are blowing up the chat, just did a mandate, the whole MDHHS. Are you familiar?
I was just about to say that.
Cool.
So let's start with the county orders. They are based off of Michigan codified law. I know some people get glazed over when I say the statutes, but I want people to know how they could double check me, because if I wasn't confident about what I was saying, I wouldn't tell you what laws I was quoting, right? So anyway, MCL 333.24, let me double check this, 2453. So that is the one for the local orders. Now, the one that the state has put out is based on MCL 333.2253, one digit off there in the middle. The thing is, they're essentially the same. So there's a few points about this. One is that during an epidemic, the local health officer under the .243, or the director of the Department of Health and Human Services for the whole state under .2253, if they determine that control of an epidemic is necessary to protect the public health, they can issue an emergency order to, 1, prohibit the gathering of people for any purpose. Those are the exact words of the piece there. And if you want to tell Frank, he is more than welcome to join with the citizens of Michigan and create a campaign committee or a candidate committee and then run the whole thing. I'll show up and I'll talk to people. And if people want to vote for me, great. But I am not ever running a campaign myself for governor.
Come on, we love you, Catherine. Come on.
Oh, I'll run for governor if you guys run the whole campaign. I'll go and speak. I'm not doing fundraising. I'm not managing the volunteers. I'm getting burnt out on that just with the Restore Freedom Initiative. So
I know.
They can do three things. They can prohibit the gathering of people for any purpose, which we're definitely going to come back to. And they can put procedures in place to ensure continuation of essential public health services. And three, to ensure the enforcement of health laws. That's it. So those, I realize only a few of my fingers are showing on the screen. There we go. So those are the only three things. Now let's look at enforcement of health laws. And let's just look at the issue, of wearing masks. Is there a law on the books right now that requires people to wear masks in public? No. So if they have an order that is requiring people to wear masks, that's not enforcing a law that's already on the books. So let's go to the next part, working backwards. To ensure the continuation of essential public health services. Forcing people to wear masks has literally absolutely nothing to do with ensuring the continuation of public health services. So public health services are provided for, let's see, the public health offices, they provide pregnancy testing, STD testing and treatment. They provide immunizations. They provide, I'm not sure if the WIC offices are based out of those local public health offices, but, basic offerings of services or education for people, not requirements upon people, right? That's talking about a service. A service is something that you utilize if you should choose to do so. So if they would like to offer masks, if they would like to offer educational opportunities about COVID-19, they can do that under this order. They cannot require people to wear masks under that part. So then let's look at the first one, or the one that I left for last. Prohibiting the gathering of people for any purpose. Does that strike you? I know you're not an attorney and all, and I know that your favorite is the Second Amendment. Is there any other provision of the Constitution that reminds you of?
First Amendment?
I would think so. I would think even poor Ruth Ginsburg would be able to come back from the grave and tell us that that would directly violate the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Not to mention that in our Michigan Constitution, we have a bunch of good stuff in this Constitution. I really do love it, which is why I want to just make it that little bit better with my amendment. But Article 1 is our whole Declaration of Rights in the Michigan Constitution. And Section 3 says, the people have the right peaceably to assemble. Okay, I think that's pretty easy to understand.
I don't need a lawyer to interpret that.
I don't think so. I don't think any of us would need anyone to help us interpret that. The best part about it is, you have all these, I did a TV interview with Fox News tonight, and it reminds me, I got to turn that on at 10 or 11 to see how they did in cutting the film. But anyway, the argument is made about, well, it's a pandemic and people are dying, or I've had hate mail so far, just today alone, hundreds of calls and text messages and things. And it's, well, don't you understand? You're killing people, Katherine. How dare you? You're so unprofessional. You should be disbarred, all this other stuff, right? Okay, well, let's think about this. It says right in our Constitution, our state constitution, we, the people of the state of Michigan, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of freedom and earnestly desiring to secure these blessings undiminished to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution. Literally, the government's whole job is to secure our blessings of freedom undiminished. Undiminished. I don't see how anybody needs a lawyer or a Supreme Court to interpret that one. I mean, does it seem obvious to you?
Yeah, basically the government didn't give us our rights, but they're supposed to protect and defend them that were given to us by our Creator. Exactly.
So, anyway, that is, let me think about where I was going with that, because I just got warmed up. Dang. Yeah. So prohibiting the gathering of people, we can't prohibit for any reason. We also, of course, Article 1, Section 4, we have the freedom of worship. Every person shall be at liberty to worship God according to the dictates of his own conscience. Well, I'm used to going to a congregation of 500 or 600 people gathering every Sunday, and then going back later in a Sunday for other kinds of activities, going there on a Sunday later afternoon to meet with a group of people to learn about how to better strengthen my marriage, to meet with my daughters at Awana right now at our church to learn about Jesus Christ and the gifts that he gave to us. So it's just absurd. We could decide that we want to gather for a birthday party. I worked on my birthday. I've worked every single holiday and whatnot so far since April. But, maybe at some point I'm going to decide to take a break. And despite any executive or emergency order, I might say I want a birthday party. And all of y'all freedom-loving people are welcome to come. I don't care if it's 2 or 12,000. We have the right to do that. So at any rate, as ridiculous as it sounds, it is ridiculous. They can't do that. And the best part is, it's tied all into the same sentence. So if it's unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional. There's no severability clause there. So the other thing that we need to think about is, let's look at the idea of being forced to wear masks at all. Article 1, Section 23 of our state constitution and the 9th Amendment of our U.S. Constitution are very similar. In fact, let me grab out Article 23 of our state, Article 1, Section 23 of our state constitution. It's titled Enumeration of Rights Not to Deny Others. And it says, the enumeration in this constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Now, what's very important about that ties into the preamble. So in the preamble, it tells us we get our blessings of freedom from God. We don't get our rights from the government. We don't have to ask permission to live. We have our rights. The only things that are put into the Constitution are the things where we're like, hey, these are the obvious ones you guys have had problems with before. We're going to put these in here so we know you're not going to mess with them again. But we still retain all the other God-given liberties. So guess what? They still have to protect all those rights because, again, the whole purpose of our state constitution or our U.S. Constitution was to secure those blessings of freedom. They have to secure the blessings of freedoms that are enumerated and those that are non-enumerated. Now, for all those people who think we need to wait for the state Supreme Court to confirm that we have the right to breathe fresh air and not have to have a face mask on, if we have to wait for the Supreme Court to enumerate that right or spell out what all those rights are, doesn't that seem to kind of go contrary to the notion of us retaining unenumerated rights? We don't need any branch of government to spell all those rights out because they could never have the full complete list. God did not design us to be submissive to a government. God designed our government to be created to protect our individual freedoms, not collective freedoms. So the last piece on that, Article 6 of our U.S. Constitution and Article 11, Section 1 of our state constitution require that oath of office that a lot of people have heard me talk about. We have members of the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, anybody that serves in government. Quite frankly, we have a state statute that requires even just employees that are not elected, they too have to take the same oath. That oath literally says that they are going to support the U.S. and Michigan constitutions. So what does that mean? Whether you like it or not, if you're anywhere in government, you have to do your best to protect my right to not wear a mask, my right to gather with other people, my right to be able to play a sport I so choose without having to suffocate because you want me to cover my face while exercising like an idiot. None of those things are things that they just get to choose whether or not they're going to protect. They not only cannot stop us from exercising those rights, they literally have a duty to protect those rights so that others, such as private companies, cannot infringe upon our rights to breathe fresh air, for example. So at any rate, like I said, whether we're looking at this lovely 5-page single-spaced order from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, which, by the way, makes it a crime to violate this order, as though they're legislators. They whether you look at that one or these local county orders, like the Oakland County one, which is a lot less wordy, it's the same thing. The statutes are very, very similar, almost exact on wording on the parts that we're talking about. And you know what's interesting about this? So back at the beginning, we were talking about the Supreme Court, and we were talking about how they ruled that the governor, that the 1945 law is unconstitutional because it violates the separation of powers clause. The separation of powers clause is Article 3, Section 2 of our state constitution. And it says we purposefully divide our government into the executive, judicial, and legislative branches. And not one single person from one branch of government can turn around and exercise powers properly belonging to another branch of government. They said, therefore, because the EPGA of 1945 allowed the governor, by issuing executive orders, to exercise legislative powers, because it allowed her to do that, it therefore violated the separation of powers clause and the non-delegation of powers clause. So wouldn't we think that these other parts of the public health code that allow the director of the Department of Health and Human Services or the local health officers to issue the exact same kind of restrictions in something called an emergency order, wouldn't that also be a violation of the same separation of powers? Especially, let's look at this. Let's look at the big one from the Department of Health and Human Services. Right over here, we see Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And then over here, Director Robert Gordon. All from the state of Lansing, or the state of Michigan in Lansing, because they are all part of the same executive branch. So if the head of the executive branch can't exercise these powers, why would somebody below her be able to exercise these powers? Or somebody below him in the county offices be able to exercise these powers? If it's unconstitutional for her, it's unconstitutional for him.
Yeah, because we're not supposed to have a multi-tiered justice system. You know, the Lady Justice wears a blindfold, a set of scales, and a sword because she's not supposed to be able to see who it is. This is supposed to apply to literally everybody, the way I understand the Constitution and justice.
Absolutely. Yes.
Now, I have a question, though. Speaking of private businesses, I'm a small business owner. So are you. I respect businesses' rights. However, private citizens, if they're treading on people's rights, isn't that the oath they took to defend? So here's the question. Everyone's saying, the local businesses are all saying, we can do whatever we want. We're a private business. We can keep enforcing these orders because we're not of the government, so we'll just do what we want. What do you think about that?
Well, to the extent that they have a sign displayed that says wear a mask, it's the law, or any of these local orders, whether it's the county orders, the MDHHS order, the executive orders, anything like that at all, they are then acting as an arm of the government. When they're acting as an arm of the government, literally every single restriction that would be placed upon the government from doing those kinds of things now properly is restricting the private businesses from doing those things. So in that scenario, you have the government saying, do our bidding for us. Go ahead and enforce these laws or these orders. And you have the private businesses going, yeah, we'll do your bidding for you. We'll enforce these orders. Then they're acting as an arm of the government, and they're going to be equally as responsible to the restrictions placed on the government itself. Also, let's say that's not that. Let's say it's Menards, right? Let's pick on Menards because they used to be one of my favorite stores. Before April of 2020, that is. So Menards is not saying it's by the governor's orders, at least at some point in time. They might have changed their story. They've been saying it's corporate policy. So it's corporate policy to deny people entry if you're not wearing a mask. Well, that's interesting. Are you allowed to deny people entry if they're in a wheelchair? Are you allowed to deny people entry if they are dressed like maybe they don't have a lot of money, but you can let in people that are wearing fancy suits or, carrying expensive equipment with them as part of their job. Are you allowed to deny someone entry because they drove up in a beater or on their bicycle, but the next guy that comes with some sort of like $40,000 extended cab pickup, he's allowed to come in?
Are we in the caste system like India has been in the past? Is that what this is coming down to?
So regardless of whether it's because of how, you're viewing somebody, because a lot of the people that haven't been wearing masks already, it's because they're medically unable to. And then you have those people saying, well, it's company policy. You can't, I don't care if you're not medically able to wear a mask, then you're just not allowed in here at all. That doesn't work. I mean, that's why the ADA specifically put in provisions that even as a small business owner, you are, I got to stop looking at the screen because it's throwing my brain off. Sorry. So you are still required as a private business owner, if you're a place of public accommodation, then the rules of public accessibility, they apply to you too. Now, I have my office in my home. Let's say I was a COVID-19 mophobe, right? And I was so afraid of COVID-19 and I didn't know Jesus Christ as my savior. And I was living with a spirit of fear. And I wanted to mandate every single person in my life to be wearing a mask. Then working from home, if somebody wanted to come into my home and not wear a mask, I could say, no, you're not coming into my home not wearing a mask. It's my home.
Sure.
If, however, the same attorney, if I had an office, say in a mall, like I used to own an office that was a couple of office buildings outside of my home. If I wanted to say to people, you know what, this is my building, I own this, and you're not going to come in without wearing a mask, but it wasn't even in my home, it was just in a general place of public accommodation, I couldn't say that to people. So there's a distinction there. We need to apply common sense. Did you want me to answer the question about the 7-year-old?
I want to know that so much. My daughter. Okay, there's 2 questions here, I think. My daughter's 8 years old. She goes to a private Catholic school. So can you answer it from a public school standpoint and a private school standpoint in Michigan, please?
Absolutely. So first of all, we as human beings have those unenumerated rights. And it's the government's job to not only not trample upon them, but to protect those very rights. That is their job. That is literally their sole job. So whether it's in the private school setting or the public school setting, obviously the government already thinks that they could stick their nose into the private school setting because they do all kinds of things to regulate the school day and what kinds of things are in the children's environments and whatever. So either way, if they think they can regulate anything about the private school day or private school setup, logistics, right? They certainly then have the obligation to regulate the rights of the students in those situations and not allow any private entity to try to violate the basic human rights that God gave us. No child should ever have to wear a mask like that. Never. In fact, while we're growing and learning and have these little humans, hopefully my husband's on the way home with a very cute 6.5-year-old human. They're learning facial expressions. They're learning how to communicate with each other as humans. They are learning how to speak and how to complete sentences and how, they're learning a massive amount of words every day. They're learning the context of those words. They're looking at facial expression to be able to pair up word choice with what objects you're looking at. And then you have students that are children that are, possibly autistic or have some other sort of disability in those kind of normal developmental areas. And so they need a little extra help in understanding the way that humans interact, the way that we talk to each other, the way that we communicate. And then you have even some other children that have something like reactive attachment disorder or any kind of other, a lot of traumas. There's a lot of trauma in our environments, and children go through trauma like none other. And so the only way for those children to be resilient, as people often say, oh, well, kids are resilient, they get over it. The only way that they can have that resiliency is if we create an environment for them to heal and for them to thrive. And if children are taught that all the adults in their lives have to be distant, 6 feet away with, something covering their face, and the child has to have their face covered, how does that teach a child the appropriate ways to express emotion, to express words, to be able to understand how to communicate with others, to be able to have a connection with an adult, a safe adult in their environment? There are 4,000 different reasons why God gave us the rights that he gave us. And this is exactly one of those areas where Article 1, Section 23, or the 9th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution say, enough is enough. We have God-given rights that we did not necessarily, who on earth would have thought in the 1700s that we would need to write down on a piece of paper, and the government shall not force the people to breathe through paper or cloth while in public. Excuse me? That's just stupid.
Wait a minute. I just had an epiphany here. I know you're not a doctor, but still, are you saying there's
I'm a doctor of law.
There you go, medical doctor. But we don't give medical advice here, guys. But hold on. Are you saying there's other sicknesses and that mental health is real? Like this China plague isn't the only thing that can affect people? Is that what I just heard?
You cracked me up, the China plague. That's the first one I heard it just like that. But
well, we call it the Kung flu and many things too. But
so what I would like to point out for people, because some people are blessed enough to not necessarily know what others are going through, but let me just tell you that even the World Health Organization understands that when you have, let's say you have a parent or someone in the household who loses their job, that loss of a job, even if they're not terribly worried about the income at the beginning, the loss of the job itself gets to the core of a person and can cause depression, can cause anger, can cause abuse to come out of that person to loved ones. What about when they have a significant drop of income for some reason? Say that both have lost their job because, say, the whole economy was shut down by their governor who thinks she's queen. What about when you have, you're an alcoholic and you are still allowed by governor's orders to buy as much booze as you want, but you are not allowed to attend an AA meeting or even attend church, or to be able to attend any kind of group therapy or support services? What about the people who need anger management counseling or group therapy for those kinds of issues? What about the people who need to go to domestic violence places to get, to be able to talk to other survivors of domestic violence? When you take away every single resource that people are used to surviving on, barely just hanging on surviving, and they've been doing their best, and you're going to rip the rug from underneath them because that's not an essential service and everybody has to stay home. Are you kidding me? So yes, we've seen as the World Health Organization even says, you have any one of those kinds of things happening, and let's look at kids being at home, kids being essentially forced to be homeschooled when either parents are single parents and they have no other adult in the home, or you have parents that are totally ill-equipped because, quite frankly, they should never have been parents in the first place, but here they are, they have children, and the safest place for those children oftentimes has been while they're at school. True. Well, now the parent's like, great, I got to try to work and clean the house and take care of the dog, and I have to teach my kid who yells and screams all the time. I mean, clearly, we're setting our system up for failure. We're setting our children and our families up for failure. So you have all of those pressures, and that's where the World Health Organization says any one of those things, it's going to lead to increased domestic violence and increased instances of child abuse and neglect. Now we have all of them.
And it has. There's already statistics. The crime rates are way up in this country this year that they're publishing.
Yes. In fact, we will never know. We will never know the true numbers on how this has impacted children in abuse and neglect situations. And I say this as an attorney who has represented children in abuse and neglect cases in 2 different states for 12, 15 years. So I could tell you, as somebody who's been in those homes and worked with those children, my youngest client ever was 4 weeks old, and my oldest client was 17 years old. And I
Wow.
could tell you, from the broken bones to the sexual abuse and everything in between that these children have to endure, the people that are there, the people that are the school bus drivers, the lunch ladies, the crossing guards, the hockey coaches, the Girl Scout troop leader, the Awana leader at church, their teacher, the lady at the front desk of the school, the principal, any of the adults that would be in their lives with their extracurriculars or with the school itself or in their neighborhoods, we're taking away every single one of those connections for these children. And then on top of that, when they dare even get remotely close to an adult that might care for them or be a mandated reporter, we're making those children mask up so that we can't even see the slightest bit of their facial expressions, if the child has any kind of visual signs of physical trauma, any of those things. So
Well, hold on a minute. When you mask something, it loses its identity. Robots and machines, we can control them. They have no identity. Yeah. People are supposed to have identities. And when you lose your identity, it seems like people have been losing their identity long enough where they're wanting just to follow the governor. People are getting weak pretty quickly, it seems like. That's what's scaring me.
Not only weak in the sense of giving in to the governor, I had a call today from a person in a retirement community. It's not an assisted living. They take care of themselves. It's just an apartment essentially where they pay a lot of money to be able to sit around and play euchre and things like that. Although I told her she needs to play pinochle instead. But anyway, I'm from the UP. Yeah. So she's describing how they've actually lost residents there, meaning lost. So her retirement community has ages 55 all the way up to like 95. And they have 99 apartments there. And these individuals, the manager of this apartment has decided that she's going to take all the furniture from all their common areas, the furniture they've had in outdoor spaces, the furniture they've had on like hallways or indoor, by the window or whatever, where they used to be able to sit down and play cards or share a meal or just experience human interaction.
Their golden years.
This woman has taken all of this furniture and locked it into a community room, which they pay to be able to use as part of this lease. They're supposed to be able to have access to all these common areas. This woman, this manager, has taken all of these rooms, locked them up, and yelled at all of these residents that they need to be wearing masks, and scared the crap out of so many of them that most of them wear their masks in their apartment all day long and do not ever set foot even in the hallway. These people are so lonely, and they are so distraught, and they are so afraid, and they are ripped away from being a part of human society to the point where they're just wasting away. And they have no one to spend time with them and to see them every day, to care for them. They have no human interaction, and they are literally passing away alone. They are dying alone.
The saddest thing anyone could ever fear, really. I wanted to two quick things here. I wanted to give my personal opinion and then yours, reading some of the chat here. Now, I've always said this on my channel. I'm going to say it again. As much as I demand that the government and people respect my right to breathe how I want, I respect your right if you want to wear a mask. If I walk up to you on the street and you're wearing a mask and you say, "Good day, sir," I say, "Hey, how's it going?" Now, I don't know if they're smiling back, but I am very nice to people that wear masks, and I encourage everyone who wants to wear one to wear one. So that's my opinion. What's yours?
I'm sorry. I'm visualizing the concept of, "Hey, sir, how you doing?" And you have no idea if they're smiling back.
I don't know, but I mean, yeah. I'm not going to berate them because they're choosing to wear. That's just my preference.
Exactly. No, and that's the way that I view it, because you never know what somebody's circumstances. Maybe they are wearing that mask because they have just been starting to undergo chemo treatments.
Yes.
Maybe they are wearing that mask because they live with someone who has some sort of other, scary health condition, and they're just trying to do their part to keep that illness or that potential out of the home, because even the flu could kill their loved one. We don't know that. We have no reason to judge. In fact, the proper use of the governor's executive orders would have been something like this, or even the health department orders. It would have been something like this. We see coronavirus. We see that it kills the vulnerable and the sick at a higher rate than the flu. It kills the healthy and the young at a much lower rate than the flu. So here's what we would like to do to protect the vulnerable and the sick. We would like to make sure we're going to put measures in place that if you have employees that would like to show up to their work while wearing a mask, or you are in a restaurant, or you own, some sort of shop, and you ordinarily do not allow people in, with like a hat and glasses or any kind of covering like that. Yeah. We are going to make sure they have special protections to be able to have that face covering on so that they can keep healthy or keep their loved one healthy while they're engaging in and staying in the community. Because some people that are going through chemo live on their own and they need to get groceries and they can't pay the little bit extra to have them delivered or whatever. So she needed to be able to do something like that, use her powers in that sense for good, and to be able to protect the vulnerable and the sick instead of shaming or punishing those of us who cannot or refuse to wear masks in public. That's what she should have done.
I know, and that's why I'm glad we had this talk, because I wanted to clarify this. Just because Katherine and I are very life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness type people, we're also very compassionate people. We want to help the weak and the sick. So I've never seen Katherine, and you're never going to see me. We're not mass shaming anyone. If there's people in the chat doing that, hey, it's an internet chat, like whatever, right? But no, Katherine and I have never walked up to somebody and said, you're wearing a mask, you're a lesser person than me, and we're not going to do that, just to clarify that, right?
And in fact, kids are kids, right? Kids say the darndest things. That's why that was a show.
Yeah.
My child, beautiful, wonderful, smart, sweet little angel baby. I mean, yeah, I've
her before.
I have 3 teenagers, and then I have her, and she's only 6.5. And so I think we took a family vote a few years ago that she's going to be our favorite. She's everybody's favorite in the family. So anyway, until she's like their age, and then definitely one of them will be the favorite. Anyway, my point is, kids that say the darndest things, when my child hears me day in and day out fighting against this or fighting for my right to breathe fresh air while getting some groceries or something of that nature, I've heard her a couple of times say out loud, well, Mom, that person's they're wearing a mask. They shouldn't wear a mask. Right. And I've said, honey, you don't know. In fact, we were at the chiropractor today. And my chiropractor is one amazing dude, by the way. If you ever have a messed up back, he's worth driving for hours around. His name is Dr. Chris Hawkins, and he's off Belding Road in Rockford. Anyway, we were there. I drive an hour to see this man. That's how phenomenal this guy is. So, and his staff, phenomenal as well. But anyway, we were leaving, and we noticed that there were quite a few patients at that time that had masks on. And part of me, I wanted to yell out, hey guys, you do know that it's been declared unconstitutional, right? You don't have to do this. But I stopped myself. And my daughter said something when we were in the car about it. And I said, you know what, honey? You don't know, though, if maybe they're sick. If maybe they are protecting somebody at home who is very sick. We need to not judge them. We could talk to them, maybe have a conversation with them about it sometime. But do not judge them or think they've done anything wrong simply because they're wearing a mask. So we need to educate each other about that, because it's not just 6-year-olds who are going to say something like that. Sometimes it's our friends or our relatives or, other freedom fighting people that just kind of haven't seen it from that perspective. We need to be able to see the world from everyone's perspective and recognize that we each have our right to have our own lives and exercise our own freedoms. And we are not collectively responsible for the collective public health. There is no such thing. In fact, little side note, I saw somebody earlier that said, health is different for everyone. How many times do you think the word health is used in the United States Constitution?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
0.
Exactly. The word health appears 0 times in the U.S. Constitution. How many times do you think the word welfare appears in the U.S. Constitution?
In the Constitution, probably not.
It does.
General welfare, but it doesn't specifically have welfare programs like.
Not welfare programs, but in terms of like providing for the general welfare.
The general welfare, yes. So
here's the thing. In our preamble, it says that we create the Constitution to promote the general welfare. Promote. Yes. not regulate the crap out of people in the name of public welfare.
And not provide every inch of it either, just promote it generally.
Promote it, not provide.
Yes.
Promote. So then we go to let's see, I think it was article, hey Mike, where is it? The part about the public welfare.
She's a lot smarter than me, guys. I'm trying to keep up, but you
know. Dang it. Oh, I got to read this to you guys because you need to know this.
While you're researching, let me take a quick break for a plug for you. Guys, Katherine is literally giving this her all. I've known her for months now. We met with Chief Bucala in late April. I consider her a friend, and I go to Lansing a lot. And when I do, she's there. Her husband, Mike's there. That little girl she's talking about, I've seen her playing in the grass on the Capitol lawn. So if you want to help Katherine and what she's doing, the links are all down in the description of this video. There's a spot where you can shop. That promotes, the Restore Freedom cause. But there's an actual donate where you can help her just to reimburse her a little bit because she's basically stopped taking almost all of her paid clients. And she's doing this basically for free and just with the help of all of us. And I know she's doing it because I'm one of the more active-ish people around. I've met her in Flint. We met at a flea market, okay? I've seen her at a local patriotic residence house in Howell. I've seen her in Lansing 6 or 7 times. She brings her family. She's there with her friend, Frank, Lori, Amber, people like that are doing a ton. So if you guys can help the cause at all, this lady's literally about all we've got as far as a constitutional lawyer. So down in the description of this video, if you'd like to help Katherine, and I encourage you do. So there you go. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. So it is in Article 1. It's Article 1, Section 8 of our Constitution, U.S. Constitution. And it says that Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, all financial stuff, right? Yep. To pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States, semicolon, but all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. And then it talks about the ability to borrow money. Key point in this is that whole paragraph there, or that whole provision, is talking about taxes and payments. In other words, when it says to provide for the general welfare of the United States, they're literally talking about like a father going to work to provide food and shelter for his children. We're providing financially for the general welfare of the United States. So if we needed to provide, and it says for the common defense and general welfare, if we need to pay money, come up with money to be able to, have an army or a navy or any kind of other military operations, that would be providing for the common defense and general welfare. So those are the 2 places that welfare are talked about, but it's not about, hey, government, you have a job to tell these people what to do so we can take care of the general welfare of the people. Another interesting point is the safety. Let me see here. Oh, give me 1 second. I'm coming right back.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at the chat here. You guys are bringing up some great points. If you guys need anything clarified, I will try to add it to it, but.
Oh, here. Nope. Anyway, I can't find where I was going with that. But anyway, the term safety appears once in the United States Constitution. So if they're trying to keep us safe, if they think the job of government is to keep us safe, the one area that term comes up in is when they say that basically the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless in the rare circumstance that the public safety shall require it during times of war.
It was done in the Civil War, for example, I know.
Has nothing to do with keeping us safe from, breathing fresh air.
Okay, so some people want us to I guess they're looking for us to recoup just a couple things you discussed already with, I know these aren't yes and no, but they just literally want to know, so do we have to wear a mask or not? What's the complete final answer on that?
I was going to be a smartass and write a big no on a piece of paper, but I have no blank paper. So the answer to that one is a no. You legally, constitutionally, have no reason why you need to wear a mask unless you choose to do so, or after a consultation with your doctor, think that it's in your best interest as the patient of that particular doctor.
And we recommend that you do take care of your health. And if you and your doctor need to, then do it if you need to. Now,
I'm going to suggest, though,
Yeah.
this is Dr. Katherine, not Attorney Katherine.
Right.
No, I'm going to suggest as one human to another, a couple of things. One, vitamin C. And the medical professionals in my life have told me this. Vitamin C. You need zinc. You need vitamin D3. You could use some vitamin B in your life.
And the sun helps with that too.
Yep. All of those things are going to help keep your immune system strong. So if you start by keeping your immune system strong, and honestly, cutting out the crap in our diets. I know we hear it all the time and we see all the diet commercials and we think, oh, whatever, that's just a load of garbage. Seriously, I used to be a Diet Coke addict. Now, when I was in college and law school, I was a single mom and I worked 3 jobs. I didn't have time to make a lot of gourmet meals and I didn't have a ton of money. So it was whatever the cheapest thing on like the 99-cent menu was at the local fast food place, quite honestly. Or, a lot of cereal or ramen noodles or macaroni and cheese and things like that are really not healthy for you. I could tell you that when I cut back on all the carbs, when I cut out every single ounce of caffeine, I drink a lot of water, those simple things honestly have made my health way better. So I'm just going to plug the natural side of things for now.
Just be a healthy person and it'll help you. Now, this is, I guess, another yes or no if there's a such thing. Whether it's by the state itself, that 5-page document, or Oakland County or whatever, the MDHHS, are there police that are going to arrest people? Like, what's going to happen if they just say, I will not comply? They want to know that.
Well, I'd be interested to know in what Attorney General Dana Nessel has to say about this, because what I can tell you is that even Attorney General Dana Nessel says that she's not going to enforce these executive orders anymore because they were declared unconstitutional. Now, of course, after her statement is when these other orders came out. So I would like to think, though, because here's the thing, I think she's quite intelligent. I do. I think she's evil, but I think she's intelligent. And so I think that she's going to recognize that the exact manner in which the governor's orders were declared unconstitutional would also mean that these emergency orders are similarly going to be declared unconstitutional. So I don't think she's going to want any part of that. But that's just me. But I think she knows that when she's up for re-election, there's somebody's beach picture. Scott, can you please keep commenting because I want to keep seeing that picture.
Don't show that. She's going to leave Michigan, guys. If you know her, she's always said she's going to Florida eventually. So we got to leech off of her as best we can. Oh, come on. You got to stay around a couple more years. Mike, don't let her go anywhere yet. We need her.
Are you listening, Mike?
Don't let her go, Mike.
I'm on a huge delay.
Oh, okay.
How do we go after them? I've seen my friend Gabrielle. She posted to her thing where she just wrote them a nice little letter and said, I will not comply. You're out of line. We demand that you stop. So what can they do?
How do we go after DHHS? That's a good question. My biggest thing is, hey, Mike, can you hand me the piece of paper that is directly behind you? Yep, right there. Okay. So, I'm gonna give people some reasons why, and then the conclusion might make itself a little bit more known. Hang in there with me, but this is a law book like none other. This is the Holy Bible, and Romans 2:13. It is those who obey the law who will be declared righteous. I'm asking people to obey the law, and these orders violate state law, and they also violate the Constitution. And no law is allowed to violate the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It says so in Article 6 of our U.S. Constitution. So you can literally have no law. If there is a law out there that violates the Constitution, it's as though it never legally existed in the first place.
Yep.
So I want people to keep that in mind, that I am asking people to obey the supreme law of the land here in the United States and in the state of Michigan. In Isaiah 117, we are told to seek justice and rebuke the oppressor. MDHHS, Governor Whitmer, local health officers, I would say they are deemed the oppressors in this situation. Ezekiel 11, 1 through 4 says that when the leaders of the people are giving wicked advice in the city, God calls us to speak out against them, to speak the right word at the right time in the right way. And finally, 2 Timothy 1:7 says that for God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. I ask you to go out and use your spirit of power and love and of a sound mind and figure out how to educate your neighbors and friends and coworkers and those around you. Educate them on what the Constitution says. Educate them on what the Supreme Court said. Educate them on what our state law says. I gave you guys some citations. Go ahead and look them up. They're really not that long. If you want to look at, it's just the one about this that the state health department is using. It's literally this. I mean, that is not big at all. That is, you guys probably can't even see it. It is very, very tiny. If we want to look at the one that applies to the local health departments, it's even smaller. It's literally just this.
Yeah.
You guys can read this. You guys can understand this.
Yeah.
And if you can't, watch the video again and then get a little humor, and decide to, donate to my go to Florida fund. No, but anyway, so anyway, we need to educate ourselves. We need to educate those around us, and we need to empower those who are. Do you have a neighbor who's alone and maybe is just being bullied by an apartment manager or a government agency in some way? Do you know of people who are having their rights trampled upon? Do you know someone who needs help? Don't just look for an attorney. Come on, let's not empower the attorneys. Attorneys are a bunch of losers because where have they been in this fight? How many attorneys have been standing by my side from day one saying, Katherine, let's take this on together. Let's bring them down. Let's bring back our freedom. Screw all the attorneys that are out there that took the same oath of office that I did, and they're standing by and watching as every single person in Michigan has had their freedoms trampled upon. Don't wait on the attorneys to help you. Don't wait on the Supreme Court to help you. Don't wait for the governor to do the right thing. You take your freedom in your own hands.
Yeah.
You educate yourself, you educate those around you, and you know what your rights are, and you stand up for them respectfully. You stand up for them. You ignore what those orders say. And when someone gives you gruff about it, you just say, you know what? I have a right to be here without a mask on. You need to leave me alone now. Thank you. And if they don't, if they get ugly, just tell them. Your attorney gave you the advice that if they wanted to keep acting that way, they're going to be held liable under 18 U.S.C. Section 241, which is not only a 10-year prison sentence for them, it could be punishable by death if they're involved with something that leads to the death of another human being.
This is called deprivation of rights under color of law.
Yep. Otherwise, you could try to get them civilly under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. People, don't wait for the government to fix it for you. They're not. Don't wait for the attorneys to fix it. They're not. All this time I've been working on this. What is it? This is month number 7 now. I'm telling you, I don't have anyone helping me. I have volunteers that help with the Restore Freedom Initiative, and they would love to help with the legal side if they knew how. But quite frankly, none of them are attorneys, so they don't know how to help. I don't have legal secretaries sitting by me. I don't have attorneys that are on staff with me. Literally every single brief I've written by myself, and I do make my husband proofread them if I have time. Literally every single oral argument I've made or every single video I've done on all these things. Don't get me wrong. I love my husband. I love the Restore Freedom team that we have, but they are helping on that side of things because they just, first of all, don't have the time in the day to handle all the Restore Freedom stuff and the legal side. Not that I do, but they're also not equipped to do that. It's me, guys. It's just me. Who am I? Who am I to be able to take on the governor, the attorney general, the Supreme Court if need be, the Republican-led legislature? I'll take them all on any day of the week, because that is exactly what we're supposed to do. If we can have men and women as young as 18 years old go on the front lines and fight a war on our behalf, I can certainly be here in Michigan and fighting for our freedoms, and you can too. Just the fact that I have a law degree and a crap ton of student loan debt to pay for doesn't make me special. It makes me stupid, but it doesn't make me any more special than you. You have every right to read those laws. You have every right to read the Constitution, and that's why I hope every single time that I am telling you a provision of the Constitution, or I'm telling you about your unenumerated rights in Article 1, Section 23, or your unenumerated rights is guaranteed as protected in the 9th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, I'm hoping that you're looking at those and reading those and understanding those, and never let anyone ever tell you that you just can't read them without a court explaining it for you.
Yes.
So that's what I would say is the way to handle it.
Yes, and this is something I often say. I love all of the founding documents. They're works of art, quite frankly, because they're so simple. But if you look in our Declaration, it says that we're endowed by our Creator. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think that's what she was saying. It doesn't say the government guarantees you're going to be happy. Nobody's going to make you happy. But you do have the right that's protected, given to you by God, but protected by the government, to pursue your own happiness. And when you do, and when you can smile at people without wearing a mask, it's going to project that onto others. You guys would be amazed. I've literally seen people before where it was a clerk at a store and they're counting out the change and they're kind of having a bad day. I'm like, hey, thanks a lot. You have a good one. And they kind of smile back. Like, this is contagious. So you just have to keep your head up and you have to stay positive. We can't just sit and cuss at each other online all the time. We need to stay positive. And I've seen what Catherine's doing, guys. And I'm not going to say this is a shameless plug. I don't give a crap. It's my show. You guys need to go down into the description here and see if you can help Katherine and restore freedom out. I know these people. These are real people, guys. I promise. I see some of them here. I see Lori. I see Amber. Okay. I see Frank everywhere. Mike, her husband, that little beautiful 6.5-year-old. I've seen her play in the grass. They're not getting paid. None of them are getting paid. Like, you don't just walk into the Supreme Court, Zoom this time around, but you know what I'm saying? You don't just walk in there. Oh, there she is. Hi, baby. She's cute. Anyways.
He said hi to you.
Hey. You don't just walk into the Supreme Court and say, I argued in front of the Supreme Court. Now I can pay my bills. So help out Katherine and restore freedom as much as you can.
I actually had to pay to do that. Every single time I file a brief on behalf of on behalf of the people of Michigan, or in defense of the U.S. or Michigan constitutions, I have to pay a filing fee to do that, and I have to pay to print I have to pay to print with my toner, and we've had to replace our drum and our toner and our printer, our paper multiple times. I had to buy a new computer and all this just because my old one didn't like functioning almost 24 hours a day, every single day of the week, and it couldn't handle it anymore. All those expenses are things that no one else is here paying for. I want to see something, Emma. Can you say something? I want to see if they can hear you.
Hi.
Louder.
Hi.
Can you hear her?
Oh, yeah, I heard her.
Okay, so Emma, can you tell them who gives you your rights? Where do your rights come from?
God.
Yes, ma'am.
Does the government give you your rights?
No.
No. Does the governor give you your rights?
No.
Does the Supreme Court give you your rights?
No.
Do you have the right to breathe fresh air without a mask?
Yes.
Yes?
Tell me.
What?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Do you have to wait for the government to tell you you have the right to do that? Or does God just give you that right?
God gives me the right.
Oh. So after our Bible, what is the most important book that we have? What is this little book called?
The Constitution.
Can you say that a little bit louder?
The Constitution.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
Constitution, yes. Okay. So that's the most important book after the Bible? Yeah? Okay. Are you going to run for president someday?
No.
Are you going to be a lawyer like mommy to save people?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what,
All
guys?
right. I love you.
See you later. I've been grinning ear to ear the whole time. First of all, she's a doll and she's awesome. But you know why? A 6-year-old, just let this sink in, guys. A 6-year-old gets it, understands it. What's wrong with these millions of people in the state of Michigan that are just like, oh, I guess it makes sense. I guess it's okay. A 6-year-old can understand this, guys. If that's not encouraging, I don't know what is. So
I want to leave you with some other words of encouragement. Psalm 31:24 tells us to be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in the Lord. Psalm 56:11 tells us that in God I trust, I will not be afraid. What can man really do to me? Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And Ezekiel 2:6, and you, son of man, do not be afraid of them or their words. Do not be afraid, though briars and thorns are all around you, and you live among scorpions. We live among scorpions, people, and there's briars and thorns, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to get ugly, and nothing's going to be easy. But we need to remember that I said earlier, 2 Timothy 1:7, God did not give us that spirit of fear. God gave us the spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And you need to remember that every single day. It is us. It is up to each and every one of us, whether you're 6 years old or whether you're 96. If you live here in the state of Michigan, if you live in these wonderful United States, and you have the ability to speak or communicate with others, you need to use that gift to be able to be that light in the world and tell people about their freedom, tell people they're not alone, and let them know that whether they believe it or not, God gave them those freedoms, and we are going to stand by and fight for those freedoms because that is what we have taken an oath to do, or that is what we believe in that's important. So please, guys, please remember that you're not alone in this.
Yes, I thank you for that encouragement. And I'm looking at so many encouraging comments down here. Shout out to my friend Tap Rack and Roll. She says we should teach all our kids how important this stuff is. That was great. And this is for the whole country, guys. A lot of people are going to be more concentrated in Michigan tonight, but this is the whole country. I hear about what Wolf is doing in Pennsylvania. I hear about Cuomo in New York. And hopefully there's an attorney in those states that's going to listen to this show and get some encouragement to help in those states, because this is all over the place. And I think this can set either precedent. It's not going to set court precedent. This is a Michigan court case, but it can set precedent in the court of public opinion throughout these whole 50 states. Do you agree? What's going on here in Michigan?
Undoubtedly, the whole country is watching the state of Michigan. And so even though the recent court case doesn't legally impact the other states, people are watching and people are waiting, and they're looking to see, how are the people of Michigan going to handle this? Look at that tyrannical governor and the attorney general and the secretary of state, and all of these people that have been abusing the privileges and the rights of the people of Michigan. What are the people of Michigan going to do about it? Are they going to sit on their laurels and just wait for the government to hand them back their rights one piece at a time? Hell no, we're not going to wait for that. We're going to stand up and we're going to fight for our rights. And we're not going to wait for any government official to say that it's okay, because I don't care what they think. They are violating the Constitution. It is they who will have to pay for their transgressions, not us. So the people of Washington, the people of California, the people of New York, the people of Texas or Florida or Louisiana, they're watching and they're waiting to see what's going to happen. And they're going to see the people, the grassroots people of Michigan, rise up above all this. And we're going to band together and we're going to exercise our freedoms, and we're not going to wait for the government to give us permission to do so.
We're just sick of this crap. It's that simple. And I have one more question here for you. I know it's getting late, but okay. Schools, some of them I'm hearing right now in the chat have not made changes. And what the answer a lot of parents are getting from schools and even businesses is, we just have to sit back and wait to see what happens. What the heck are they waiting for?
Yeah, some of them have said schools in a variety of things. Some of them have said, well, the governor said it's good for another 21 days. If the governor told you to go jump off a bridge, would you do that too?
Don't say
For
that. They
those that,
might, actually. Some of them would.
well, then there'd be a vacancy on the school board.
Good point.
Um,
Katherine for school board, too. Yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
no. So if they said that, see, now you got me all.
Katherine for president, Katherine for school board, Katherine for county commissioner, Katherine for township trustee. Good luck with your election, by the way. But
Thank you. I have almost forgotten. People of Georgetown Township, if you are watching, I am still here in Georgetown Township. I am every bit as committed to fighting for our freedom here as I am to the state of Michigan. And if you think I'm feisty hanging out on Zoom chats, you should see me in person. So why don't you come down and vote for me on November 3rd, and make sure to come down to our I think it's the last meeting on a Tuesday, I can't even think now, of November, where we will be officially sworn in. And I'd love to get a chance to meet all of you and hear your concerns about our township. And quite frankly, every single other person who's not in Georgetown Township, when's the last time you went to your city council meeting or your township office meeting or your village meeting? When's the last time you went to a school board meeting? When's the last time you went and sat in on any kind of hearing at the legislature down in Lansing? If you haven't done that recently, get a group of people together, an accountability group, and make sure that you guys are making a point to get to those kinds of meetings. And if one of you cannot attend one of them, then make sure somebody else from that group is able to attend, and that you guys all talk about it and you can share your collective voices, but don't act like you have to be fighting this all on your own and that you're just one voice and there's no point. Absolutely not. I have often been the only one to fight on a particular point or in a particular setting, and I only do it if I think it's the right thing to do. So oftentimes it feels lonely and it feels stressful and scary. I've already had a lot of death threats today alone. In fact, I've had a ton of people even trying to discredit my business. I got a letter in the mail today that somebody was trying to get me disbarred. Luckily for me, the Attorney Grievance Commission decided to tell them that I had a First Amendment right just the same as anyone else does. So I didn't have to respond to that complaint. But even on my business, like you said, I've only had the one paid client basically all year since April, because I'm choosing to fight for the people, and I just haven't had the time to take on private clients. I would love for people to be able to help me out. You mentioned financially. Even if you can't help me financially, even if you're in a different state or whatever, but you have a few minutes, if you have appreciated anything I've said here tonight, I would ask that you go on my Google business listing. I have two. I have a law firm listing, Katherine Henry PC, and I have the Restore Freedom Initiative listing that's more about the petition. I'd ask that you go on both of those, give me a 5-star rating, and write a few words or a sentence about why you appreciate the work that I've been doing, because I have a crap ton of 1-star ratings where people are telling me that they think I should just go crawl in a hole and die because I'm telling people to rip off their masks and burn them. Help me out. Let's make this teamwork. But like I said, use teamwork to have those city council meetings or school board meetings. Don't act like there's just so much to do that you can't possibly make a difference. If little old me can make a difference, you can make a difference. Absolutely, 100%. I have faith in you that you can.
Yeah, thank you. And we appreciate it. We really do. Guys, start coming to Lansing. You guys are going to see Katherine shares it in her Facebook groups. I share them in mine. We're all the same people. The 2A Livingston group, great friends of mine. I saw Rick Nieper hanging out in here tonight. I don't know if he's still in here. Just come and hang out with us. We have a lot of fun, good people, and that's what we need. We can't just have Katherine show up to the Capitol by herself and just stand there. That does nothing, right? We need to have thousands of people out there in the Capitol, in the lawn, demanding and letting them know. So
hey, I have one last request there. You remind me of being at the Capitol. I had a couple of people that were helping with my security detail, and although I now have my own firearm and all that, I prefer not to have to be the one. Sergey, switch it on them and get 1-star review.
We can get
I
it
would
back to
just
them.
want to focus on me.
Yeah, let's just
But,
help her out. It was funny.
Sergey, just give me a 5-star review, man. You're like 2 miles from my house.
I think he already did.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Sergey. But and I love that his picture's at the beach. That looks phenomenal there.
Thanks so much, Sergey.
Yeah, I know. But if any of you would like to maybe be the coordinator that could work with my events volunteer so that anywhere that I go, she knows before I do. She tells me what to do. She's like my mom, and that's okay. I love her. Lori's phenomenal.
Yes.
When Lori decides that, she's coordinated an event on my calendar, she knows where I'm going to go. If you're willing to work with her so that we can coordinate and make sure I have someone with me, whether it's somebody from Michigan Open Carry or whether it's, a member of one of the militia here in Michigan or, whatever, somebody from a police agency who's going to be off duty or whatever, sheriff's organization. I would love to have a friend who I know could have my back, especially now that I've had a lot of these death threats. So if you're willing to be that coordinator of the safety piece for me, it would just put me at ease a little bit more, and Lori could get you all the info on when those events are and whatnot. But anyway, if you do feel like you'd want to help me with that, Lori's going to kill me. Her phone number is 616-303-0134. And she's phenomenal. And a text would probably be easiest on her rather than a phone call at this point. But if you could connect with her, that would be fabulous. So anyway.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And Sergey's saying we should do a shooting range event coming up here. I would love to do that. See, I had one planned this spring, but again, the governor, dictator, I call her many things. It was illegal for me to work for 6 weeks with my lawn business, and I was mowing.
No. It was never illegal. It was against the dictatorship's order.
Yeah, I was saying illegal in the very facetious sense, guys. You're right, Catherine. So a real quick funny story, and you'll know where, just to represent all these small businesses that have been speaking up tonight. I'm out cutting a customer's lawn this spring. I'm not going to comply, guys. You know me well enough. Like, I don't care. I don't acknowledge her and her executive orders as anything. So I'm out cutting on my Skag lawnmower, 10 miles an hour. Customer comes out. Hey, get over here. I come over. She's like, I'm listening to the police scanner. They've called the cops on you like 6 times for cutting grass. People driving by. Now, God bless Sheriff Murphy in Livingston County. You know what happened when she heard the cops pick up on the other end? They said, you know what? Stop calling us about this same guy. We're not responding to lawn mowing. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. But I was having to sneak around because some customers were kicking me off their property, though, in all fairness, saying, no, the governor said, she said, it's the law. I can't let you be here. And it was hard on a lot of us this spring.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm kind of glad it was. You know why? Because that gave me time to go to the Capitol. I met Chief Buchel, a great guy. Then I met you. I'm
even better, though.
What's that?
I just said I'm even better. I'm just kidding.
Nah, you guys are both pretty good. He's not bad either, but
right.
I don't want the chief to come whip my butt later, but you're a little better. But no, the guys from Livingston County. So that's what I was able to do when I was stuck. I wasn't stuck at home not being able to work. I was going in the Capitol that day that we had the whole rotunda shaking, basically telling the state legislature, you will not vote to extend it another 28 days. And they did not. And Katherine was there that day. She was down inside, front row. So, yeah. Do you remember that? That was a good day, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I often tell people, in fact, you might have been one of them too, that I tell people, yeah, so that day I spoke at the steps of the Capitol for 22 minutes nonetheless. And then I went inside and I was there. And when we were storming the Capitol, but we were getting angry, because they weren't letting us in. They were violating Article 4, Section 20 of our state constitution, keeping the door shut, that I went right into the middle of the heat of the aggression because I wanted to make sure as a mediator, I did my part to make sure that nothing did get ugly. Because once it turns ugly, it gets ugly real quick, real fast, So anyway, I'll tell people, gosh, yeah, I remember that. And they'll say, wait, that was you? They're like, I was there. I didn't know that was you. And it's amazing how many times people have said that to me. It's kind of funny. I'm like, yeah, that was me.
You were right down in the fray, and you were dealing with the guy that runs the I don't know what he's called. He works for I think he works for the staff of the house. Their guy that wears the suit down there, and then they have all their
Red
burgundy.
suit?
Yeah. You were dealing with the guys in the burgundy suits, and then there was like some pretty tough dudes in the militia right around there. But here's the thing. When I say we had the rotunda crashing down, not in a violent way, the way it works there, guys, is there's steel grates in the floor. And that's just what you do. If you want to get their attention because they won't let you in the meetings, which you're allowed to, you just sit there with your feet and you bang on it. And it just echoes right through this round rotunda type.
Yeah.
And it was crazy too, wasn't it? Like in a good way, like a lot of freedom and liberty that day.
They heard us because the second that, I won't name him, but one particular state rep in particular, he came out right after they were done voting, and he said to me, "Well, Katherine, you told people that, this bill did X, Y, Z, and that's not what this bill said. You told people that there was a $5,000 penalty for violating an executive order." And I said, "That's exactly what was in the bill. I can show you if you would like." And he said, "That's not what's in there. You were lying to people." They heard every single word that we said when we were outside the whole time. So
It's a true story too. So I'm sitting there. I've got my camera set up. I'm not going to dox him right now and show the text, but it's right here. So my state rep, who, by the way, guys, get the numbers. Text your state reps. Get to know them. It's important. But I'm texting my state rep. He's a Republican. I'm like, "Do you guys hear us in there?" He goes, "This is a family-friendly show, so I won't repeat it." He goes, "Are you effing kidding me? Of course we can hear you. We feel like we're going to fall over in here right now." So, yeah, that's what happens when you go and get involved, guys.
It was an awesome day. I knew from then on, a lot of people feel like they don't necessarily know what their place is in the world, or they don't know what their place is in this fight, or they feel that looks creepy. I don't want a hand on me. Thank you. It's like the Addams Family. I just have the hand. Anyway, child, go. Thank you. Anyway, she did it. She broke my thought. What were we talking about?
Talking to your reps and knowing your reps.
I don't know. It was she broke my brain.
Know your rep, write your rep, call your rep, demand of your rep, all of those.
Yeah, it was. I don't know where I was going with it. It was somewhere specific, but child, you just broke my brain. It's bad enough you almost broke my body. Now you broke my brain. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So it's just important that you stay connected with. Oh, that's all I was going to say is that I remember thinking, I ran for state rep back in the day, and not in this district. I lived in a different district, and it was a 5-way race. I was in the race first, and then another 3 months later, somebody else joined the race, and a month after that, the third guy, and then in the spring we had 2 more guys join the race. And of all the mailers that went out, the only person who had attack mailers sent out by the establishment, I was the blessed recipient of the attack mailers sent out by the establishment. So anyway,
because that would have been the most formidable opponent is why, but
I obviously, I was definitely showing in the polls that I was going to kick some butt. So that's okay. I knew that God was calling me to run, but I've been often thinking, well, why would God have me lose then? And, why, I've done this, and this in my life, and it didn't seem to really go anywhere. And I've had my law firm, and I've had to change throughout the years. Cause when I moved from Midland to Belding, well, shoot, the clientele is a little bit different. So the needs of the people of Midland in the Dow bubble that barely got hurt at all in the 2008 recession, the people of Belding, they're hurting all the time. The people in Ionia and Montcalm counties, they just don't have money, and their needs are totally different. And so, I had to totally restructure my practice and things like that. So I blame marriage. Thanks, Mike. Anyway, so the point is, we often feel like we're, whether we're a garbage truck driver or we work at the Dollar Tree or we have our own law practice or anything in between. What am I really doing here? Do I really have purpose? Am I really important? It wasn't for me, honestly, until April 30th, when I stood there in the steps of not even on the steps of the Capitol, when we were inside, and I'm standing between the Michigan State Police, and then the Redcoats, the Capitol Security, and then all the militia guys and the rest of the people that were, armed to the hilt, and they were super frustrated that our rights were being violated and everything else. And I'm literally in the middle of all that chaos. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, this is it. I was able to explain the laws, the bills that we were seeing flash up on that screen to this crowd, hundreds of people that I didn't know. They didn't have any reason to trust me. And I don't know if you remember, but there were times when I started speaking that you could hear a pin drop because people just wanted that information. And, when the state house, when they were done, and that particular state rep, I won't mention, came out and he's all like, guys, come on. And he's putting his hands up, guys, just cheer it up, cheer us on. We voted to not extend, and we're going to sue her, and we're going to do all these great things. And I was like, that's not what I was watching that bill number. Senate Bill 858 doesn't do that. And he's like, yes, it does. Yeah, it does. And he didn't want to exactly share with me the legislative analysis he had in his hand. I was able to get the actual bill language from my own state rep, Luke Meerman, and people just stood there knowing session was over for 20, 30, probably 30 minutes, waiting for me to read it on a phone and then read my notes from all the different orders, which at the time were just under 60, by the way. And even then it was a lot. And so I was able to go, back and forth and look at all of them. And I'm telling my friend Mark Petzold, an awesome freedom fighter, hey, can you remember executive order, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Mike, that's my husband. Can you remember executive order? What? And I'll remember the rest of them. And sure enough, then I had it in my brain. And I told the stranger next to me, who I didn't know from Adam, hey, I'm ready. And he quieted down the whole the whole building. And everybody just got quiet, and they listened to little old me tell them about the executive orders, the 29 executive orders that were being codified into law. In fact, they listened to me tell them that day our Republican-led legislature made it, had she signed it, it would have become law for people to wear masks on April 30th. To have to wear masks, and for businesses to have to enforce that, and for all the social distancing and everything else that we're mad about this, the governor doing to us. The legislature's been trying to do it from day one. So I sat there explaining all this to people, and the whole room listened and learned and wondered what the next steps were. And these people didn't know me, and I didn't know them, but I knew in that moment, that's why I ran for state rep. It's so I had those connections. It's so that I was able to, know the people there, know when to call them on their crap, know whose phone number I needed to text, to be able to see some of the state reps that I had been working with who had been fighting for freedom behind the scenes, trying to get the rest of the caucus to put their poop in a group and do the right thing. It was phenomenal to finally see, this is why. So if you're sitting at home and you're not quite sure what you could possibly do in this fight, I guarantee you God has a big role for you. You just need to pray about it, and you need to click that restorefreedomkh.com link that I'm sure somebody has posted somewhere, and you need to find ways to get involved. Go to the Get Involved tab and figure out what are you being called to do, because we'll put you to work to restore freedom here in Michigan, and you're going to feel a purpose and a sense of accomplishment like none other. Now, are we going to pay you? Heck yeah, we're going to pay you with your liberty. We're going to pay you with self-respect and dignity and freedom. Is that not the best paycheck of all right now?
Well, you're
that's all I can afford to pay you anyway.
Yeah, you're not even paying yourself. You can't pay them. And once more, for people just joining to listen to it afterwards, I put several of Katherine's links, her Restore Freedom page, her Facebook, all of that is down right below the video in the description. So it'll stay there permanently. That's a better place for it than the chat, because the chat comes and goes. So it's there. I'm a circulator myself of the petition. She has captains. Reach out to a captain. They'll get you on board. A lot of my friends are circulating this petition. So we're not done yet, but I think we should just realize we're not done. We have to keep working, but it's okay for us to be happy right now, guys. We had a huge victory. We are happy about this, right, Katherine?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the Supreme Court could have done more. but they at least held to what they needed to, and they answered those 2 questions in the affirmative, that she did violate state law and that the other state law violated our Constitution. And I think we need to stand firm together to know that none of these other government clowns have a right to do anything they're claiming to do.
Yeah.
And in the coming weeks, or hopefully in the coming days, I haven't even had literally 3 seconds to call my dad and ask him. So I'm going to ask 1/3 of my web team right now. Web team.
Your better half.
My better half. Oh, you haven't met him, have you?
Mike's cool too. We've hung out. I like Mike.
Oh, yeah, he's cool. You know, just like you said, Steve's cool, but I'm pretty sure Angie's the better half of that. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
No, Angie's cool. Angie Bucher is cool. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to have a tab of the restorefreedomkh.com called masks. So right now we have petition, we have resources, which by the way, I have the US and Michigan Constitutions linked on there. So if you don't have a copy yourself, go there and click that. Those are the most current copies. Anyway, you'll see shop, donate is one of them. Contact us, get involved is one of them I mentioned. We're going to have one called masks. So as soon as I could start putting together different resources for people about masks and different statements that they can make, or, you know, different resources, different, you know, legal provisions or constitutional provisions, I'm going to do my best. But guys, just so you know, I've been on I've been on 5 radio shows today, 1 interview for a magazine, 1 TV interview, and now nearly 2-hour podcast interview. I'm exhausted. And my first interview on video interview tomorrow with Justin Barclay who is that? Steve Gruber. With Steve Gruber tomorrow is 7:18 a.m. So I'm tired.
Oh, we need to wrap it up, but I've had a lot of fun hanging out with you tonight. As always, we'll hang out again. You guys are going to see her again on this channel, my Patriot EDU channel. There's great videos of her on there. That's my 2nd channel. So make sure you guys also check out Katherine there. Her YouTube channel. Links are down in the description to that. I heard you talking. I was actually cutting grass with my little phone down in my pouch with my Bluetooth, listening to you live the other day. I said hi to you a couple times. So make sure you check out her YouTube channel too. Is there anything else you want to say, or you just need to get to bed, right? I mean.
Oh, I would love to, but I think I literally have 47 text messages unread from the last hour and a half, so it's going to be a while. But again, guys, you know, just a couple little things. Call your state rep, email, you know, bug the heck out of them. Make sure that they know you're not okay with any kind of law that requires masks in schools, masks in public places, masks for doctors' offices, or even masks as a condition of employment. Let them know you're not okay with any kind of mandate for vaccines, whether it's as a condition of employment or to go to public school or anything of that nature. Let them know that you don't want to see a single one of those executive orders put into state law, because that's what they're planning on doing. Let contact your local health department, contact them every day, bug the crap out of them. Tell them every single provision of the Constitution I've armed you with tonight. Tell them what the state law says and tell them they're violating both of them. Let them know where you stand on things and that you are educated and you're not going to let them get away with stuff in your community. Do not stand by idly and let your rights be trampled on. And just keep checking in on restorefreedomkh.com. You have to manually hit the refresh button, even if you've just opened it for the first time that day, because for some reason our website doesn't automatically update. You have to actually hit the refresh button. Then you'll see all the changes and things that we've been making. But please check out there when you eventually see that the mask button or tab pops up. That's where all that information will be. So for all of you who have been wanting to reach out to me or ask me questions about masks, I'm going to ask you to wait on that and look at that tab when I have something up, because you are literally one of 1,000 people that's reached out to me today alone.
Sure.
And I'm one tired woman. I just need a little bit of rest. So,
I'm going to go over to Restore Freedom. I'm going to donate tonight when this is over. And I hope that you guys do too. This is literally grassroots. I promise you guys. So I appreciate you coming on tonight. I had a blast. I had fun hanging out.
I did.
So.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, cool. Anything else?
Not for me, guys. Thanks
All right,
for
I'm outta
tuning
here.
in.
All right.
All
Thanks
right.
for watching. Have a good one.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.